IVM.
Hey there, friend. If you're anything like me, then you have no clue what a mutual fund is, and your life might be subject to market risks too. So that's why you should probably listen to Paisa Vaisa by Anupam Gupta, who'll answer all your questions about mutual funds, financial planning, banking, all that money stuff. You know. Check out new episodes every week on the IVM podcast app and anywhere else you listen to podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Geek Fruit Podcast. My name is Dinkar and spit out your tambula because with me I've got our very own jungly warrior Jishnu Guha. What's up, Jishnu?
No.
Do you know what I was referencing there?
No.
Do you know of the song Jungly Warrior by Monica Dogra?
No.
Right. So if you listen to it, the chorus is something like Jungly Warrior, something, spit out your tambula. Like that.
No.
Check it out. It's a song.
No.
Make sure you check it out.
No.
Anyway, what's up, Jishnu? How you been?
Not much. How are you?
I'm also good.
All right, good.
I had some issues to take up with you, Jishnu.
Uh-oh.
Now, last week, you and I did an episode on The Boys.
Yeah.
Right? And it has come to my notice since then that a lot of people enjoyed this show.
This is true. I told you.
We weren't the kindest to it. Me in particular.
I was going to say.
Yes.
Measure your words.
Yeah. Oh, it's not like you said, no, Dinkar, this is a really good show. You were just like, yeah, I know, it's not that bad, basically, is what you said.
Yes. I pulled a you.
Whereas I said...
And you pulled a me.
Man, you know what this show has done to me, Jishnu?
What? Wait, what our show has done to you?
Yes.
Okay.
What the show has done to me. I, in real life, am a reasonably sensible, pretty decent at math, and pretty nice person. And yet, the show has created this image of me as a jerk who can't do math. Two things that are completely untrue about me.
Something episodes, but we got there.
It has broken me.
That's why we did this. This entire entity exists just to break you.
Apparently, it's been successful. But why do people like this show, Jishnu? I'm genuinely flummoxed.
It's got charm in the tenacity of its own quirks.
Okay.
The things that you don't like in the first 3 episodes don't get any better. But the things that are forgivable in the first 3 episodes do get better.
Right.
And I think the main takeaway that I had from the previous episode I said was, long and short, the acting is really, really, really good. Mm-hmm. Story, plot, not so much.
I would agree there.
And gratuitous gore and R-rated scenes are way too gratuitous. Mm-hmm. However, because the acting is so good, I felt compelled enough to stick with the cast all the way through. And while the ending isn't anything that's going to keep me up at night in a good or a bad way. It's vaguely forgettable for me. So I don't know if I'm going to come into the second season. But when I was binging it, I was like, I'm surprised how quickly time is flying by. Because I was having fun.
Right.
Even though I'm not going to remember this 10 years from now and talk about it 10 years from now. I was having fun in the moment, and, people like superheroes doing weird superhero things.
So my issue here, first off, among the defenders is fellow IVM host Varun Dugirala, who also happens to run a very successful company, who said, I really enjoyed the show. And he messaged us on Instagram saying he really enjoyed the show and that he liked that it didn't take itself too seriously. Mm-hmm. I agree there. Mm-hmm. It didn't take itself too seriously. There was another poor soul, kind-hearted fellow named Asif, if I'm remembering correctly, wrote into us saying, can't wait for your episode on The Boys. Isn't it the best show ever? And then we put out the episode and he messages back saying thanks for ruining The Boys for me. This was the first ever podcast I listened to.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, man, but we speak truth to power and to our fans, apparently. But
just DM Dinkar directly and air all your grievances.
I suppose
just like
so.
I do. All right.
Hey, you talk as though you were the lone flag-carrying member of the show.
No, I'm just saying I like to send you personal messages with addiction and hate
enough.
And malice.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Where I'm coming from, I will say that, first of all, personal disclaimer, I am very anti-gore and viscera in general.
You have a weak stomach. Yeah.
I do, so I wasn't the biggest fan of that right away. But more importantly, one of the key scenes I highlighted where literally the actor speaks the subtext out loud,
right.
A lot of the show felt like that to me. And from the sound of it, now I'm not going to sit through the other 5 or whatever episodes because I don't want to stomach the gore. And also I felt like basically the cost to benefit ratio is off for me. And more importantly, to the other people out there who have like other things to do in their life, I feel like there's this incredible plethora of content you can consume anyway. Yeah. There's Gels marble races on YouTube.
My God.
Okay, there's shows like Barry, Fleabag, Killing Eve, whatever. I'm just Chernobyl. Like, you realize I spent 3 hours watching this and I could have watched the first 3 episodes of Chernobyl instead.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, there is no dearth of great stuff to watch out there. And maybe if I particularly want to watch something about superheroes, this is the best option I have. But there's so many good options in terms of superheroes as well. So I don't see the need for this show to be on my watch list. I feel like there's better things for me to watch.
I mean, that's pretty arbitrary because that statement is true for anything and everything.
Well, no, I'm saying that while we're living through...
To each his own. It's like there are a million options of everything
I'm saying
days.
In hindsight...
I think you're just butthurt that finally somebody doesn't like what you had to say.
Oh, no, this has happened plenty of times.
No, it hasn't.
Please.
Not like this.
I'm
enjoying this very, very much.
Oh, man.
I'm enjoying this more than I should.
Aana Marg ko dard nahi hota episode.
I wasn't there for that, so I didn't get to see it.
But I was aggressively angry at that movie, and a dude wrote back saying, how pretentious. And I replied, yes, like your freaking movie.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This show brings out the worst in me, Jishnu. The worst in me. I'm just saying.
Are you Dikkar Duveri? You can keep that.
Rude.
You can keep that all day.
How rude, as the lady from your show says. In hindsight, I feel like the show won't be remembered too well. So we'll see what happens a year from now.
We should put money on it.
All right, let's put
1 ice cream.
1.5 ice creams I'll raise you. 1 Magnum, how about that? Huh?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not talking your Cornetto. I'm talking Magnums.
I was going to go Bono.
Oh, all right, yeah.
2 scoops.
Bono. 2 scoops of Bono ice cream?
Yeah.
All right, Jishnu. I will see you.
See you Independence Day next year.
Done. For season 2 of The Boys.
Yep.
Does The Boys leave any cliffhangers at the end of its first season?
Oh, yeah. Like hell.
Lord. Okay.
Why else? A show doesn't exist if it doesn't have a cliffhanger.
I guess so. I'm just not a fan of this kind of thing.
Let's talk about other things.
Explain our premise for this episode, Jishnu.
So, everybody loves their leading men. Everybody loves their leading ladies. Everybody loves their supporting characters. Everybody gets Oscars and Emmys and Tonys and all the E's. But there's no love for your C characters, who I find are often the real charm because they're so fleeting that C characters, when they're written well, are always welcomed into the scene, no matter what, because they just drop in at the most opportune time for them. They're usually characters that are written in, I think, that don't have any major significance to the overall plot line, but they're just there either for comic relief or for some sort of, say, an action setup or some sort of just really cool, fun breakaway moment. And that only helps you fall in love with them because they're not around long enough for you to get to know them and get to know their flaws and make your mind up about whether or not, if you like them or not. They're just there to be cool or to be funny or to be some sort of way to have fun for just one set moment. So today, we are going to list a total of 6. Is that the idea?
Whatever.
6 and change of our favorite C-list characters.
I think one of the, like you said, there's maybe not the pressure to carry plot points on characters like this. And the fact that they have the freedom to be maybe a little outlandish that way gives them the leeway to become bigger than the movie itself sometimes, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's like what you see, what you don't see. Yeah, steal the show because what you don't see, you get to make up in your head and therefore you get to aggrandize them that much more.
So one of the classic examples of this, which we thought typified this, was Boba.
Yep, number 1.
So essentially, a character with no lines who basically is on screen for what, like a couple of minutes before he dies?
Pretty much.
Right?
Yeah.
Is now the basis for like
an entire...
Right now,
flagship
TV show is being made
for a new platform,
that focuses on his race. But that's the power of a character. I mean, essentially just his design, right?
Pretty
he doesn't
much.
even do
He's
anything
a costume.
cool.
He's a really cool costume.
He does nothing. Yeah, he's just a cool costume who became a whole thing.
He's a cool costume. Now so he's introduced in Empire where he is a glorified bodyguard. No, not body. I mean, like he is a merc who goes out on a mission, but in practicality, when you actually see him in action, he's just a doorman.
He falls into a pit. Is his whole thing.
Well, that's the next movie. In Empire alone, he shows up behind a door, he shoots at them,
that's about it. Yeah,
and then takes off. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing too significant that happens with him. He's cool because he looks cool. He fires blasters like everybody else fires blasters. He might be more accurate than the regular stormtrooper, but that's about it. He doesn't really have much to do. And then you see him.
But then just the mythology or like the hype that was built around him in the decades after the original trilogy has turned him into a major character now in this franchise.
Despite flubbing his second appearance in Jedi as much as he did. Right?
Yes.
Because in Jedi, again, he's the same role. He's the guy on the side with a gun who has to try and apprehend a blind man and a dog man.
And he cannot.
And he can't do that. Now, to be fair, Ace in the Hole is a Jedi with a lightsaber. So, yes, that will one-up you.
Still, basically, however, his entire image of, like, badass mercenary is not really borne out by anything that he actually does.
It's not at all founded.
Yeah.
And he has arguably one of the most, like, bumbling deaths in the entire saga, right? Like, we talked about, just to clear up our own metric that we're using to define a C-list actor, a C-list character in a film or TV show.
Yeah.
We also considered TR-8R, Traitor from Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Now, we're not including him because he is in literally just one scene. And I think in order to classify...
Or he literally has only one line, in fact. So I'm going to...
Cool. What I'm getting at is our own metric right now that we're using is somebody that recurs in at least 2 scenes. 3 is ideal, just to assert them as a recurring character who is very much within the pantheon, as opposed to somebody that's just who says one funny line. Like, we can't include Greedo for the same reason. Greedo has another whole mythology behind him.
True.
However, he's just there for one scene to make Han look cool, and that's about it. At least Boba Fett has continuity, has a continuing storyline, and now, of course, he's larger than life. The Clone Wars have really set him in stone, same with Rebels. And then, of course, you have Attack of the Clones, where you get him times, infinity with clones. So
again, essentially retrofitting him into being cooler than he is.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's a really fun way to actually expand your universes. As opposed to just letting your main character go on a million adventures. Being like, why is the guy still alive? It's like, well, there's a universe.
With Star Wars in particular, just because it's such a vast world, there's a lot of room to create characters who can pop in and pop out. And essentially, you can imagine them having an entire rich history and life of their own. Like Watto, for example, I think is a great character.
Sure.
He's hilarious. He's fun. One of the best parts of the first prequel. And also he's kind of cool because Jedi mind tricks don't work on him.
Right.
That's an example of a C-list character who doesn't even have to be turned into, post the fact become wow, this dude has an entire thing behind him. He was always just Watto and he still is Watto. So he's cool. Game of Thrones has a lot of characters like this.
I was considering Game of Thrones. I thought my best bet in Game of Thrones was, say, Lady in Red.
Lady in Red is a pretty major character, though. I would say someone
in
like
the
a
TV show. I feel like you don't see her that often.
Not often,
and that's how I'm defining it.
Yeah,
she has a major role in episodes that she's in, but she's in very few.
But she's
episodes
important to the plot. No,
she is important.
I'm thinking like a Lyanna Mormont, the little girl who's super angry all the time.
Yes,
you could take her out of the entire thing and
totally
replace her with anybody else.
Absolutely,
in theory. And she's in way more than a couple scenes, and you could argue that she's a major character, but I would say she's not essential to the plot.
Absolutely.
Right? But also she's an incredibly memorable character.
Yeah.
And she gets killed by a giant.
But she has a comeuppance because she kills a giant in the process.
That's true.
So, she's a really good one because I think there you're using a C character to really hit home an overarching, what's the word? Theme of this entire thing. The fact that, it's such a female-strong, female-present redemption arc in the entire thing, because for so many episodes, so many seasons long, you have friggin' Sansa being raped and just ruined by what's his face, Ramsay. That you think that the whole thing is just a bunch of dudes that are just bad people to women, but then obviously you have Dany on the up and up, but then she, spoiler, gets her own comeuppance because she decides to change her tune.
Yeah.
But in that regard, your contender
Lyanna.
Your contender is a a perfect
Lionel.
example of what the show is actually trying to get at. It's like, we're not all who you think we are, but they do make a really solid statement with strong female presence. She doesn't have to have too much going on for herself, but she's just strong in conviction, knows what she wants to do, isn't afraid to take anybody's BS, no matter how big you are, and
she's a cool character.
Willing to
I would
die for
say,
king and country.
Can I mean, essentially, to restate our definition, I would say we're talking about C/D, whatever you want to call them, characters.
Sure.
They're characters who are not essential to the plot, but still contribute to the movie in a great way. Like a supporting
Characters
character
who would never get nominated for anything. Because you just don't
they're
have
not
enough. You don't have enough
they're
lines
not
of screen
best supporting
time.
actors.
Yeah.
Like Podrick in Game of Thrones, for example. That, like, Game of Thrones is literally like littered with with roles like this.
Completely.
You could take Podrick out of the entire story, doesn't matter. But also he's a great character when he's around.
He sings like an angel.
Have you seen Glenn Ross?
I have not.
Have you seen that first scene with Alec Baldwin?
No.
Because I've seen the movie once when it was on TV, and it's not like, it's a fairly talky movie, and I watched it in like probably when I was 12 or 13, so I don't remember a lot of it. But basically, there's it's essentially a competition between 4 salesmen to get the highest sales they can, because 2 of them are going to get fired. That's the plot of the entire movie, and it was adapted from a play by David Mamet, and he adapted it himself. But one of the things he did, for various reasons, like primary being the fact that the play itself wasn't long enough to become a movie, was add a scene and an entirely new character who was played by Alec Baldwin. Now, this character is not really ever named. This one scene I watched multiple times, and it's like the first scene of the movie. Basically, the 4 guys are sitting around talking about like, did you manage to sell anything today? And the other guy's like, nah, these leads are terrible. Then Alec Baldwin walks in, and one guy goes to pick up coffee, and he goes like, put that coffee down. Coffee is for closers, right? And this guy goes like, who the f*** are you? And he's like, you want to know my name? F*** you. That's my name. There's an entire scene of just like very quotable lines.
Sure.
But his whole thing is just telling these guys, this is the thing. I'm going to fire 2 of you. I've been sent in by corporate. 2 of you are going to get fired because you don't have the balls to sell real estate in this town. So he's basically just an aggressive character who puts out the entire problem statement for the movie, shall we say. And it's such an iconic performance that monologue is still like done in acting classes all the time today. In fact, Barry, a very nice show, if I remember correctly, one of the first episodes features this monologue being done again, because it's become one of those things where you're like, you want to take like a dramatic acting masterclass, look at what Alec Baldwin does here. And this is young Alec Baldwin, who could do no wrong. And who wasn't phoning it in necessarily. Very cool movie, very cool. It's maybe 7 minutes of literally just him talking.
Nice.
And he owns the room.
Awesome.
And he's never...
And he's a C character in that movie.
He never comes back. He's just in that one scene, essentially. So technically that flouts our one scene rule, but I'm just bringing it up to say, you could take this guy out of the story completely, because the plot was obviously still fine. He was never a part of the original story, the play version. But putting him in there has led to one of the most memorable sequences from that movie. And I think that typifies the kind of character we're talking about.
There you go. Well
All
done.
right.
Congratulations.
So let's take a break, and we'll come back and get into some more of these C characters.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you are not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also, just a reminder, if you like what you're listening to, take a screenshot of what you're listening to and tag us on social media, and we will repost your post. Also, please do tell a friend if you're enjoying a podcast which you think a friend would enjoy. Do tell them. I think that is something that really helps us. I think that we do see, increases in listenerships when you guys do that. So please do tell friends that you are enjoying what podcast you're listening to. Last week, we launched a new show called Agla Station Adulthood with best friends Ritasha Rathod and Ayushi Amin. They talk about their journey into adulthood. On the first episode, they discuss crushes and female friendships. And on this week's episode, they try to crack the code on how to adult. You can also catch Ritasha and Ayushi on This Week Cyrus Says, where they talk to Cyrus about the podcast, what constitutes acting like a grown-up, and Ritasha gives Cyrus detailed instructions to reach Mud Island. Know Your Kanun with Amber Rana is back with a new season. On the first episode of Season 2, Amber is joined by model Hasleen Kaur and actor Laura Mishra to talk about civic issues. On the Empowering series, host Zarina Poonawala is joined by investment banker Neetu El Singhani, who shares her experience of being a single mother. On 9XM Soundcast, host Eva Bhatt is joined by Aditi Singh Sharma. Aditi shares interesting stories about her childhood in Russia and Dehradun and singing for a rock band in Delhi. This week on Golgappa, Tripti Khamkar is joined by Priya Bapat, an actor par excellence who shares some incredible stories about self-love and prioritizing oneself. This week on the Pragati podcast, Sandesh Anand joins Pawan Srinath to talk about cybersecurity. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by CEO and co-founder of Terribly Tiny Tales, Anuj Gosalia. They discuss the emergence of short-form content. On The Habit Coach, Ashton Doctor talks about acupressure, acupuncture techniques, and their benefits. On Pulia Bazi, Pranay and Saurabh discuss the political history, present and future of Balochistan with former RAW officer Tilak Devashar. This week on Paperback, Satyajit and Racheta talk to Sanchita Lohot about books that bring forth an individual's hardships. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
And we're back. So, Jishnu, who you got for me?
I got one that's probably going to be controversial.
All right.
Based on lines.
Based on lines.
Lines of dialogue.
Okay.
He is a repeated face, but is not... one, he doesn't have much to say. And two...
Color me curious.
Actions speak louder than words.
All
Very
right.
few actions that are memorable, but the ones that are memorable really stick.
Yes.
Groot.
No way.
So, hear me out.
I cancel this.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
All right. So, I know it's controversial. So, the thing is, he doesn't say very much. Right?
I spent 7 minutes
every time
thoughtfully exploring our
they
premise
infer
in the previous segment. And
what he
you
says.
tossed everything I said
And
in the
it's
trash.
always a joke. It's always a throwaway remark. His development through the films as he is growing up, you get hints of it from the fact that the other guys are ticked off by what he's doing or they're amused by what he's doing. But for his first appearance, right, in the very first Guardians movie, he is just literally a big musclehead who doesn't have much to do other than do what Rocket says.
Yeah.
The only significant acts that he does, one is to pull out a big button from the jail that helps them break out of the jail. And the second is encompassing the Guardians at the very end, which is a big sacrificial moment for him, right? Everything in between is just he's another pair of hands to just fight things with. Now, branches. But that's not really what the scene is built around. He is just another guy. Every scene where there's a fight scene, of which there are plenty in those movies, they're all led by some of the other characters. He's just there in the background.
It's like I work so hard.
He's a lovable guy.
And I give.
And then
and I give.
In part two,
and you just take.
He's just cute.
Jishnu.
In part two, he's just cute. He really doesn't do very much at all.
Let me ask you this. Is
And
he
then in part
essential to
three,
the plot?
in Avengers, he's only there to be a handle. Where's the handle? Here.
Where's
Present.
the handle?
Present.
Tree.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason he's there in the entire Infinity Endgame thing.
I would argue that Peter Dinklage is more along the lines of what we're talking about here.
Yes, absolutely, for that one movie. But I think he's interesting because he's remained C throughout his entire thing.
See, I know
but
what
I can only think of less than 5 moments that really give him a point of being there.
Would the Guardians have survived if he didn't create that giant cage of branches?
No, they wouldn't. But I mean,
so he's crucial to the plot. He's a major character.
He's crucial to the plot, but he doesn't have anything to do with the plot except for literally 1 or 2 moments in each movie.
You say he's a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
I think a MacGuffin is somebody that leads the thing. But he's just somebody that's very tertiary. He is like your super special move that you have locked away that the bad guy doesn't know about.
He's a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's really cute, and that's why people like him. Yeah. And I'm very much the same. I have his bobblehead looking at me every day.
Baby,
but
do.
But my point is, he doesn't do very much except for when he's really needed.
Okay.
You don't need him until you need him the most. You know what I mean? It's like he's either 0 or he's at 100.
Fine.
Because what's the point?
I'll allow it because this is a loose definition and we're testing the boundaries.
Yeah.
But okay, I guess tree is in. By this logic, I mean, Vin Diesel, some of his greatest performances ever have been him essentially saying one line, like The Iron Giant, where his one line is basically, I am Superman, over and over again. But he's the titular character, so I don't know if you can quantify it in terms of lines.
You go.
Let me give you one of the first characters we were talking about when this discussion came up. Quicksilver from X-Men.
Yeah.
From the... What do we call the Quicksilver? The
Dark Times.
The what?
Quicksilver from the X-Men Fox franchise.
Yes, but the series of movies he's in, which is basically First Class onwards, what is that called?
The
new trilogy? The last couple of X-Men movies, shall we say.
Failure to Land.
He was in Dark Phoenix as well.
Yeah, he was.
Where he's got like a bit of a thing. But
it's the same thing.
right from the first time he was on screen, he's barely done much in terms of the plot. But that first sequence, which was, I think, set to time in a bottle, if I remember correctly,
Yes.
was a show-stopping moment, quite literally, where basically he runs really fast and moves a bunch of things around and saves the entire day. So that sequence alone was both visually and stylistically flashy enough that it's become iconic, and they repeated it in the movie after that, and even in Dark Phoenix they realized that they would be laying it on thick if they did the whole same thing again, but they essentially pull out the same move, where at one point he essentially runs so fast that he's running on air.
Yeah.
Right? Right at the start.
Towards Jean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. So, yeah, Quicksilver, I think, is a perfect example of a character like this.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Give me your next guy.
You're not going to like this.
Oh, no.
Very much.
Is it Rocket Raccoon now?
Very much
next
in the
thing
vein
I hear,
of Boba Fett.
Okay.
Very much like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Didn't do a whole lot, but then got his own TV show.
Okay.
And has become bigger than anything.
How does this count then? And who is this?
And is my favorite Marvel character.
Oh, no. No, Jishnu.
His name is Philip.
No.
His name is Philip J. All right? Coulson was in all of 2 scenes in every movie.
Which
prior
movie
to the Avengers
was Coulson introduced in?
Iron Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Which movie did he have his first major role in?
Define major.
As in which...
He doesn't. That's my point. He doesn't have a major role.
In the Avengers movie...
Not a major role.
The entire reason the Avengers get back together is because he died.
That's what Joss Whedon does. He knows exactly who you love. It's be like if you killed Groot in the first Guardians movie.
Yes, because he's a major character as well.
No.
Oh my god.
Groot is more of a major character than Coulson is in that movie. In the Guardians movie. Because he's a Guardian. Coulson's not an Avenger. Coulson is the suit nobody knows. He's a suit that nobody knows. The fact that Tony, when Tony fights Loki at the very end, and he actually is able to say his name, is oh, you actually gave a shit. For the last 4 movies when we've seen this guy in the background, we thought you didn't give a shit about him because he's a C character. And then the fact that he name drops and he says, hey, his name is Phil, oh, you remember, that's nice.
Oh,
I'm so glad you remember.
I don't know what to say here, Jishnu. I would argue that he's a very important character.
I just wanted to hear you say that. This is all an evil ploy.
Yes.
And I got my way. Thank you.
I know.
It's on the record.
This is a character that was important enough that they bought him back for Captain Marvel and de-aged him.
Coulson is important? Oh my goodness. Thank you. No. I'm touched. I never thought you'd say that.
Perhaps you're right in that I can't imagine him ever getting nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Right?
I mean, not from the
you
MCU.
Wouldn't call his role a supporting character. Like if you said the lead cast is the Avengers and someone like Nick Fury and the villains would be supporting actors, then Coulson essentially becomes a C-list. All right, I'm willing to give you this one.
In that vein, I think Fury is just as much, if not more, of a C-list than Coulson is. Apart from Captain Marvel,
Fury is a fairly important supporting character.
I don't know.
I don't agree with Groot. I might agree with Coulson, and I don't agree with Fury.
I would say pre-Captain Marvel and pre-Far From Home. How much do you get to see that guy? He's just his entire shtick is the fact that you don't know anything about me is why you respect me.
Okay, I don't know if we can say that being in a certain number of... Not seeing the person enough doesn't mean they're not that important, no? How much do you see Snoke in the first movie?
Yeah,
right?
Same thing.
But he's an incredibly important character, obviously. Right?
However, I mean, Fury is mainly just the guy that wrangles them together and tells them what the mission is. He gives you a mission briefing, and then he's there to just give you ominous lines.
But he's important. We're saying that he's crucial to the plot. This wouldn't happen without Fury. None of this would happen without Fury.
Yeah. This is our grey area.
It's the rule we clearly defined. You can't call the rules grey.
Okay, if you want to break it down, then you have to look at each movie one at a time because he's got very different amounts of roles to play in different movies.
So it makes it a little harder because with TV shows, what typically happens is a C-list character eventually, if they become popular,
they'll grow.
TV shows always have the freedom to go you know what, next season let's make his role bigger.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with doing this with franchises as well. You put out a franchise, like the first movie in a franchise, a pretty small character is liked by people a lot. Next movie you go let's make him do something bigger. That's essentially what happened with Coulson, which is why I'll allow it.
No, okay, but the exact opposite happened with Fury. Because in the first movie, so the first movie, you have to admit, in Iron Man, he is literally a C character. Like, you cannot get more C than that, right?
Sure.
He is there for 5 seconds at the very end.
Yeah.
Literally the last thing you see.
Okay.
Iron Man 2, sure. Bit more of a thing. He signs some papers, right? Iron Man 3, little bit more, not too much. Avengers is the only movie where he actually has plot moving points.
Yes, but
right?
I would argue that he doesn't even have a role in those first 3 movies. He's essentially a cameo.
He's a C character.
A cameo.
Or a D, hell. But hey, hang on. If you look at it that way, that cameo is what this whole damn 10 years is all coming from, right?
I don't know what you're arguing about anymore.
I'm saying end of Iron Man 1, his cameo is what births the entire MCU.
Okay.
Right? So is that a plot developing thing, or is that
I give and I give.
What?
And you just take. So I'm going to give you some more, Jishnu. I'm going to give you a character that I know you'll like. And this flouts the rules slightly because it's not necessarily a nerd movie, but we're nerds about this movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Lester Bangs in Almost Famous.
Wow. Okay.
That's a C character. Not crucial to the plot.
Absolutely.
Only in a couple of scenes.
Absolutely.
But one of the greatest performances ever.
I'm touched.
Oh, man. That'll just make you cry.
I'm touched in my nether regions.
Exactly.
I love that, man.
This is what I do for you. And
thank you.
come in here and break the rules.
Hey, you said Coulson was a... Can we play that back? What did you say? You said you like him? You said you respect him?
I said I'll accept that he's a C character for now.
I will take that C for Coulson.
C as in I will never see him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But
yeah, you've seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Have I?
Didn't you see like one episode?
Well, yes. And then I never saw it again.
I was going to say, if you haven't seen even one episode,
I saw one episode and I was like, sure, this might be something good, but I don't think I'll come back to this. It's a very The Boys situation.
So you'd rather see The Boys than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
You made me watch The Boys.
I didn't make you anything.
You said watch 3 episodes.
I give and I give and I give and you just take.
You gave me orders and I took them.
I don't give you orders. Tejas is the boss of me.
Let's talk about Lester Bangs. Based on a real rock critic who has written some of the weirdest stuff I've ever read about
I haven't
music.
read anything of his.
Oh, I didn't know who he was, obviously, until I watched the movie, because we were like...
Can we contextualize this, please? Because a lot of people might not have seen this movie.
Lester Bangs, that's what I was trying to do. Lester Bangs was a real-life rock critic who was famous for talking about music in the deepest terms possible, really, at an era where music was being seen as this force that could change the world. So he was writing at the turn of the century about how Iggy Pop and the Stooges were life-changing music, and about how psychedelia could open doors into your mind, and how the Doors were just overrated assholes, if I remember correctly. So yeah, basically like a philosopher poet in the guise of a rock music critic who wrote some of possibly the most important music journalism of his time and ever since. Now, Cameron Crowe started out as a teenage music journalist, writing for Rolling Stone, and Almost Famous is loosely based on that story.
Right.
So Cameron Crowe started out writing about Pearl Jam, and from what you were telling me the other day, Crosby, Stills and Nash?
Yeah. Or at least David Crosby.
Yeah. Anyway, so he never actually spoke to Lester Bangs, but he incorporated Lester Bangs as a character into the movie just because he wanted to have that voice in there.
Right.
And he asked possibly one of the greatest actors of our times, Philip Seymour Hoffman, to play him. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is incredible. Like, one of the first scenes you see him in is him talking to a radio jockey where he just like starts playing. What song does he play? I forget. But he puts on an Iggy Pop record, right? Yeah, he puts on an Iggy Pop record and just starts bobbing his head and going like, man, this is the shit. I know what you guys are playing otherwise. He has these like very moving conversations where he talks about... One of my favorite lines from anything ever is him saying that the only currency in this morally bankrupt world is what you share with someone when you're uncool. Absolutely moving. I'm still not sure I fully understand what it means, but man,
it's profound as hell.
It's so freaking profound.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is one. Was that a character that stood out to you? Because I know you're a big fan of Almost Famous movie.
Absolutely.
And I suppose now the musical.
Absolutely.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
But did Lester Bangs stick out to you? Because Lester Bangs stuck out to me immediately.
That... as a seed, I mean, I wasn't considering that movie for this list, but yes.
Let's preface this by saying, Almost Famous is full of characters like this. Like, even characters who are there for like Jimmy Fallon's character or Mark Maron's character.
Yeah.
Mark Maron, even like 12, 20 years later, whatever, still uses that one line from that movie as the intro to his podcast. Jimmy Fallon is still known for playing the manager.
Is he?
No, well, no, not really.
We remember him.
I'm stretching it.
Yeah, we remember
It's more
him.
like we watched it and now go like, oh,
this
Jimmy Fallon was
is
in
how
this.
much he's not remembered for it. Emma Stone was on his show a couple of years ago, and she's a super fan apparently, which makes
Of
me love her
Almost
even more.
Famous?
Yeah, because she
Sweet.
walks on to the interview and goes, "Hey, it's you, the guy from Almost Famous."
Really?
And he goes, "Oh, that's right." And then she quotes his line back at him,
What does he say?
and
comes
he
in as the
doesn't
suit,
remember
right?
the damn line. He has
Really?
one line, respectfully. He doesn't remember that. She remembers it because she's a fan, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I had a line, didn't
he
I?"
literally just says respectfully.
He himself doesn't remember his own role. So, like, no, I don't think he lives in the same
What
vein
is
as
Penny Lane's friend's name?
which one?
The one who meets him at the end.
Alexia.
Alexia, is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there are like two or three
There's
of them.
two of them.
Yeah.
At the one who meets him at the end.
At the top of the...
No, towards the end and says like
yes.
Penny left.
Yes. Alexia. Yeah.
Alexia, right?
Yes.
Another great C character, I would
Absolutely.
say.
Yeah.
Like, not crucial to the plot, but man, character. Such a good character.
Just all the Band-Aids.
A lot of Cameron Crowe movies, a lot of Wes Anderson movies have this little... So, the limitation sometimes with sci-fi and superhero movies can be that they're very plot heavy. Like, it is, you have to travel through time or whatever, and this has to
Yeah, we
happen.
don't get to see you unless you're relevant to the thing.
So, and of course, this is not absolutely true. Like, fantasy, for example, lends itself more naturally to characters like this who just live because you're populating a vast world. The same thing applies, I think, to movies like Cameron Crowe movies or Wes Anderson movies, where you have a lot of characters who might not be essential to like the plot itself to move something forward, but are there because these guys have built like a little fantasy world, essentially.
I'm losing you a little bit. I don't see why there's necessarily a distinction between a science fiction world and a fantasy world with regard to populating it with people that aren't essential to the plot.
I know what you mean.
Because like one is trees and crossbows and the other one is lightsabers.
It's just a
in
thesis
space.
I came up with as we were going, but what I mean is that, for example, in the Star Trek TV show,
Sure.
I can see there being a vast world where there's like one-off characters who are not necessarily crucial to the Star Trek story.
Tribbles in Star
Sure,
Trek. They
yeah.
have their own lore.
But they're super
just
memorable.
Super memorable. Now, this is our friggin' grey area. The Trouble with Tribbles episode is one of the most iconic of all time. It's also one of the dumbest and funnest, stupid throwaway kind of ones.
True.
But that's much in the vein of a Boba Fett. It was like, didn't really do all that much, but it was hilarious / cool. Let's remember that, in this case, they're an entire species who are the plot line of an entire episode, but they start and end there. And then everything beyond that, much like Boba Fett, is that was a cool idea we had once upon a time. Let's just flesh it out more now because why not? Without any direct relation to the current trajectory of the overall narrative.
I think you're right. I think my thesis was slightly off. But basically, I think what I'm trying to say is that movies that or TV shows or properties or whatever that focus on world building rather than plot mechanics have the room to create this kind of character.
Yeah.
So, for example, something like, let's say, a Looper. Okay.
Okay.
I know, deep cut,
It's
but
been ages.
okay, but
remember very little.
It's the first like sci-fi standalone movie that I could think of
Sure.
off the top of my head. But Looper is just very like, here's the plot, this is what happens, and pretty much every character is crucial to the plot because you're telling a very tight, streamlined, limited story.
Yeah.
And you're not building out this world of like, and in Star Trek there's this whole like Downton Abbey kind of situation happening with like people under the deck and people on the deck and stuff, right? There you're focusing on building the world. And in some sci-fi movies, it's all about here's the sci and the fi part of it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the kind of
I'll
thing I
give
was
it
trying to say. Anyway, whatever. We're figuring this out as we go along. Apparently, Jishnu, let's take a break and we'll come back and go through more of our lists.
Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Careers in the new podcast series presented by Accenture. I'm your host Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay. In this podcast series, we'll get you the latest and greatest in the world of technology that's shaping the future of business as we know it. We're talking intelligent platforms, cloud, AI, blockchain, extended reality, and a whole lot more. Every fortnight on Wednesdays, we'll have for you a hot topic with expert speakers from Accenture talking about top trends in the space, how these are changing the world and creating growth across industries. And importantly, we'll tell you how you can learn more, build your skills and expertise to grow and stay relevant in your career. Episodes out on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcast from.
Welcome back. Jishnu, I believe you have an irrefutable goodie, as you told me during the break.
I forget his name.
Oh my god, already off to a great start.
Well, we talked about him yesterday.
Okay.
So I
Who
hope
is
you
he?
do.
Yeah.
Opening scene, The Dark Knight, bank manager with a shotgun.
Oh, does he have a name? I don't know if he's ever named.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
movie.
That's why I don't remember his name.
He's, in fact, now that I think about it,
I know him better as Mahone from Prison Break.
yeah, he's definitely not named in the scene.
He's not in the scene.
Possibly
not
he's
in the scene.
named sometime later when someone says like, "Oh, did you know that this guy got shot?"
Maybe. I don't
But
think so.
yes, that's a great character.
Now, I'll tell you the reason why. Beyond the fact that he's cool and
This
has
breaks
really...
your one scene rule, by the way.
Completely.
Yes.
So other than the fact that he's really cool and makes a really great grand entrance with his character,
Yeah.
the very few lines that he has, I think, really sum up the, for lack of a better word, the ethos of this movie.
Yes.
Because if the whole Batman and Gotham City lore and mythology it's a really dystopian, messed up city that is filled with arguably the greatest villains that we've ever seen in comic book history.
Yeah.
And to thwart them is arguably the greatest hero in comic book history. A lot of people would say.
You don't have to argue it if it's true.
Yeah. So what I find makes him really work really well is the resilience of the city. The fact that, like, why the hell are people still living in Gotham when clearly there's so many bad people around and thugs everywhere and there's just one Batman? Be like, yeah, Batman's really great, but let's get the hell out of Gotham because it's filled with more bad people than good. This guy is the one guy who is not a police officer or not an official law enforcement guy.
Yeah.
Who's actually standing up for himself and really taking matters into his own hand, a la Batman, but doing it much like, actually, I guess completely like Batman, only doing it when absolutely necessary. The few lines that he has is, do you know who you're dealing with? You and your friends are dead. So he's like, so he asserts the fact that he's the authority in this place. You can't just walk into my bank and act like you own the place, because I own the place, or at least I run the place, and I will fight back, and I'm not going to wait for Batman or the cops, because you came in here first, so I'll fight back. The only other line he has is, what is it, something about respect? Criminals in this town used to have respect.
Yeah.
You and the guy that hired you, he'll just do the same to you. So even though he's literally about to get a grenade in his mouth or a friggin' biochemical weapon, whatever thing, put in his mouth, he's still willing to say, you guys are just punks. I'll fight you till my last breath. I could do this all day, yada yada. Which is like a good, resilient thing for just the overall theme of like the innocent man in Gotham. I find that like it's a good opening to just assert it's not a city filled with just damsels in distress, and it's not just about Batman versus the Joker. It's like everybody's in on this.
Okay.
Do you get what I mean?
I do.
But he's got a point. He's got a reason for being there.
Okay.
I'm really reading into it way too much.
This is possibly the sweetest interpretation I've heard of this.
Oh, shucks.
What I've always seen the scene as is that the bank manager character, who is William Fichtner, by the way.
Hey.
I just googled his name because I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, he's been in a bunch of cool stuff. He was in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies also.
What?
Isn't he Shredder? Or am I thinking of someone else? Yeah.
He's Shredder?
Isn't he?
This is where you tell me the truth.
I will look it up later. He's been in a bunch of stuff. You know him. You know him as soon as you see him.
Yeah, of course.
Right? But he's a mob guy. The bank, Gotham National Bank, is a mob bank.
Sure.
So he's not he's not symbolic of the goodness in Gotham. He's symbolic of the old world order of criminals that run Gotham.
I knew it was a mob bank, but it never occurred to me that he'd be in on it.
That's why he's so angry. That's why when he walks in, he's not like some sincere, upstanding citizen. He walks in with a machine gun trying to shoot at the Joker before he gets shot. Right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Shotgun.
Yeah. And with a shotgun, you're right. And that's why essentially he represents the old world order. So you're absolutely right when you say that scene telegraphs the mission statement for the movie, which is that this agent of chaos is coming into what has become the norm in Gotham and disrupting it.
Right.
So there's Gotham has been a seedy underworld mafia boss run town for so long that this is all institutionalized. So the entire bank is run by a dude who's clearly a criminal. Which I can't believe you thought he was a sweet guy.
And I didn't think he was a sweet guy. I mean, the dude's like got a shotgun under his desk. I mean, I don't think anybody with a shotgun under your desk is necessarily sweet.
The reason he has it is because he's a mob bank enforcer, essentially. And that's why he walks in and when he says, do you know who you're stealing from? He's saying, do you know you're stealing from the mob, you motherfucker?
Fair play.
guy walking in here. And that's why he says criminals in this town used to have honor and dignity
Sure.
or whatever. Because
Okay,
he's
okay.
saying like the mob has a certain way of doing things, and I don't know who you think you are walking in thinking you can disrupt everything,
Totally.
but you cannot. And that's why the Joker says, well, I don't agree with that. What doesn't kill you make you a stranger and whatever.
Totally fair, but I'm going to double down. I always saw him bookending the other one moment where somebody else stands up for themselves and doesn't wait for the Batman or the cops.
Which is?
Which is the inmates on the boat.
Sure.
The one guy, the huge guy who takes the bomb detonator from the cops who can't do it. And he says, I'm going to do what you should have did a long time ago.
And then he
okay,
tosses it.
just one line, tosses it, right?
Yeah.
And who does that? The criminal, right? The innocent bystanders on the other ship are like, screw them. Let them die.
Yeah,
And he
you're
says,
right there.
I know I'm a criminal. I know that I could kill the other people because I've killed some people before, but I'm going to be the bigger man here.
That is the
and
correct
I thought that
interpretation.
I know, but totally reading way too much into this. But I saw that
Oh,
as
no,
a
I don't
as a
think we
bookend.
are.
I saw
I
it as a
just-
bookend between
Yeah. Maybe.
the manager and this guy. It's like, hey,
I would
if-
say you might even be right there, but would that not be a bookend of this is how criminals used to be, but also there are criminals who are good at heart?
yes, absolutely.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe it's a really well planned out and meticulously written movie. Maybe it is
It
just as good as they say.
definitely is, but I'm pretty sure that man was intended as a flunky of the mafia who gets killed by the Joker, because the Joker is all about disrupting the existing criminal order. Anyway, interesting.
Yeah.
Perhaps you're just an innocent soul, Jishnu.
Oh.
Bill Murray in Zombieland was one of mine.
What would he do in Zombieland? He was... Oh, right.
They
I
eventually
forgot- I
get to
forgot
his
about him. I
house
forgot
and he
about him.
pops out and he goes like, "Sup guys, I'm Bill Murray."
Right.
And spoiler alert for a movie whose sequel is coming out now, like 15 years later or whatever, but he's killed by them,
Yep.
if I remember correctly.
Yep.
But yeah, really funny. And one of those rare situations where a celebrity playing themselves in cameo is very funny. Because it's Bill Murray and you know he's a weirdo in real life also. When you find out he's a weirdo in Zombieland, you're like, sure, that makes sense. Right?
I would go on, but I don't remember Zombieland very much.
It was a long time ago.
It was
to be
a
fair.
long time
Did
ago,
you watch the
so-
trailer for the new one?
I did.
What'd you think?
Cool because zombies and I like the cast, but there were a lot of these references that were happening. I'm just like, I don't remember the first one enough to know what's happening right now.
I know, right? Like, I forgot, for
and
example...
I'm not going to rewatch the
I
first
forgot
one.
that they were all named after states, like Tallahassee and
Oh, yeah.
Montana or whatever.
Oh,
and
right,
when
that's
that
a thing.
happened now, and they introduce the new character who's also named after a US state, I was like, oh, right, that was one of the things in this movie.
Yeah.
Another character we talked about yesterday was Nedry from Jurassic Park.
Love that man.
Yeah. Newman,
Yep.
essentially. But Peter Nedry, I want to say.
Sure.
He is actually crucial to the plot in the sense that, so he doesn't exactly follow the criteria we've laid out, but apparently those things don't matter to you. But he's crucial in the sense that he's the one who's stealing the embryos in the first place. And he's the one who shuts down a lot of the systems that enable the dinosaurs to escape. And breaking into his system is key to the entire movie being solved, essentially. But also, he's a minor character.
I would, you know what? How about I amend that to the hunter? Clever
What's
girl.
the hunter?
Clever girl. More so. I think
Interesting.
he's living in more infamy than Nedry is.
Yes.
Right?
True.
People quote him a lot more than that.
Yes.
He has one of the coolest death scenes ever because of his line. You don't even see him die.
Oh my god, I just thought of something amazing, but go on.
Now, color me
No, go
intrigued.
on. No, you please go
I'm
on.
titillated.
I'm sorry.
I'm titillated.
The hunter from Jumanji. The first Jumanji. The Robin Williams Jumanji. Huh?
This is a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I know.
Remind me?
So
He shows
like,
up, he hunts.
and
Does he do anything? I forget.
Well, he shoots a bunch of things,
and then they kill him? Question mark?
He just goes back into the game at some point, right?
They hunt for... like, he's one of the main antagonists for, like, a lot of the movie, right?
Yes, and because he's the one human guy, and Robin Williams is terrified of him. But yeah, he gets sucked back into the game, if I remember correctly.
But doesn't he have more screen time than our dear hunter friend in Jurassic Park?
Probably.
I'm very hazy on my Jumanji memory. Like, I feel like he's just there a lot more.
He's there in
Right?
maybe like 3 or 4 scenes. He's
Oh,
not like
really?
a major character. or
Oh, okay,
anything.
okay.
Yeah.
Then whatever.
Yeah.
Well then,
Well, you called Groot a C-list character, so I don't know what to say.
that guy said more words than Groot did.
That's not the... Actually, first of all, I don't know if he did, because I don't remember any lines of his in particular.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. And secondly, lines aren't the defining criteria. But okay, those are two interesting characters to talk about. I was Googling this a bit because I want to see if there was something that I didn't consider. And something that popped up a lot that I think also typifies this very well, though it's a movie that's, again, slightly outside our scope of things, is Jesus from The Big Lebowski.
Oof.
He's played by John Turturro,
Yeah.
again a great actor. But have you seen The Big Lebowski?
Of course. What?
Yeah, just checking.
Calm down.
Okay, fine. But that entire scene is hilarious.
Yeah.
And my first memories of The Big Lebowski were this ad for it used to play on TV all the time in Dubai when we were growing up on this channel called One TV. But basically, it was that entire sequence. So it's, if you remember, it's the Gypsy Kings version of Hotel California, I want to say, that plays. So there's like this medley of acoustic guitars going on, and this man like in this very flashy purple bowling suit takes the ball, then like licks it, and then bowls it.
Yep.
Gets a strike,
Yep.
turns around without even looking and starts to dance while the song kicks in.
Yep.
And then it just says, The Big Lebowski, Thursday at 10. And I was like, what is this movie? This seems so cool.
That's a great ad.
It's such a great ad. It would play all the time, and it's just like, this movie seems ridiculously cool.
Yeah.
And then there are these slow motion shots of like the dude just looking at him like, all right, we'll deal with you. And then he has like a couple of lines after that,
Right.
where again, John Turturro, who is a great actor,
So good.
is hilarious, just like going over the top, going like, you don't f with the Jesus.
Yep.
Genius. Very
I'll
good.
give it to you.
Yeah.
That's a grade A C list.
Yes, it's a grade AC list. Not crucial to the plot.
Would
so
you
it
like
follows the rule.
would you like another certified
And I also think he's in 2 scenes, so it meets that criteria as well.
Yes,
he's in that one
he is
scene, and then
recording.
he
He does
pops up
record. Yep,
again
yeah.
later. Yes.
I'll give you one lovely controversial one.
Oh no.
August Filch.
I would agree with you on this one.
I changed my mind.
Why? Oh,
Dobby.
no. Dobby is a crucial character.
Let's go with Dobby then.
Oh man.
So,
Why August Filch though? Why does
Damn
he
it.
seem memorable to you?
why is he memorable?
Yes, like
Because-
he's a
okay,
good character
yeah,
in the
so
sense that like he's a.
I think I couldn't for the life of me tell you when she thought of doing fleshing out the Fantastic Beasts stories, but I think
What about
that
Mr. Kama from Fantastic Beasts?
Mr. Ooh,
You haven't seen the second
I
Fantastic
have
Beasts, have you?
Mr. Kama. Remind me.
Yeah, he's a random dude who's whatever. Let's not get into it.
Yeah, can we not talk about
Listen,
the movie?
yeah, sure.
Okay. August Filch sort of sets up the Muggles' side of the conversation
Because of being a squib?
because of being a squib. He's the only guy that is the minority,
Right.
right? That is like a huge minority who is just ostracized for it. And of course, he's cranky and it's easy to hate him because he's such a vindictive kind of a person.
Yeah.
But he does have an incredibly valid point. He's like, hey, there's in every universe, in every world, there's always one guy who's clearly in opposite of the majority, but you need to give him the time of day, and he doesn't get the time of day, and therefore I think he's always compelling, even though he's such a, like I said, angry, grumpy old man.
Yeah,
He loves his cat. He has some heart,
that's true.
and his heart is squished upon when
Yeah.
cat is, frozen? No, solidified?
Petrified.
Petrified.
Stupefied? Whatever. Anyway.
Stupefied. But so, yeah, he doesn't have all that much to do with the plot.
He does not.
He's
That's
there
true.
as a tertiary character to sort
But a
of.
very memorable tertiary character.
Yeah. And then I think in comes Fantastic Beasts, and then you have a world where people from his side of the spectrum are
Yeah.
integral to the plot.
Interesting.
I'm not saying that they're related to Filch, but
Yeah.
we're familiar with his and therefore their
Yeah. I
opinion.
agree.
You know what I
And
mean?
Harry Potter, again, probably has a lot of characters like this.
Tons.
Padma Patil.
What's the other one? Parvati.
Parvati. Yeah, Parvati. Okay. Another thing that popped up a bunch while I was Googling, and a filmmaker who I
You
think...
Google a lot, don't you?
I just want to see if there was stuff that I couldn't think
Sitting
of
out,
off the top of
talking
my
my
head.
heart out at you, and you're just Googling away.
Well, I guess I'm the only one who followed the rules. So, the Wolf from Pulp Fiction, played by Harvey Keitel. He's the cleanup man who comes in. And that made me
Yeah.
think that's
Well done.
true because Quentin Tarantino films are full of
Filled.
characters like
I
this.
love it.
Like, literally, that's his entire thing.
Love it.
Possibly, you could say that he has maybe 1 or 2 lead actors, but they're all C characters, really.
Look-
Quentin Tarantino himself in Pulp Fiction.
I may have broken the rules. You're playing a different game.
Well, no.
Because I was looking at science fiction
Yes.
and fantasy.
Okay, fine. We both broke the rules.
No, we didn't.
Why not?
I broke the rules. You're playing a different game.
Well, but I'm playing that other game according to the rules.
But you're not even in my stadium.
What about Oren Rishi? Would you say she's a C-list character? because she's not around a lot, and in fact, she is.
Contextualize, please.
Oren Rishi is the end of Kill Bill 1.
So
When she battles everybody, she's she's the one whose head gets cut off and blood gushes out of the top.
I guess.
Beautiful scene. Really well shot.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, technically. I mean, in the same vein, like Fluffy is this Sealist character from Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody that...
But Kill Bill is in our ambit, right? It's an action movie.
Sure.
Touche, Jishnu.
Sure.
All right. Tell us who your favorite C-list characters are. Apparently, they can be anybody from any movie if you go by what we've done here. But you get the idea. You've spent all this time listening to us. You know what we're thinking of. So tell us what you think fits this, if you agree or disagree with anything we've said. And
Mr. Woodchuck.
is he the one who could chuck wood?
Yep.
All right. So you can reach out to us at GeekFruitHQ on all the socials and contact geekfruit@gmail.com. See you later, you C-listers.
Hey, this is Shidaditya.
And I'm Amit Doshi.
And we host Shunya One.
It's a really fun podcast where we talk to some of the best entrepreneurs in the country.
Yes, talking about everything from their startup challenges to what they're building and all the future of technologies right here.
So catch us on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you listen to your podcast from.
Filter coffee is a fascinating beverage. You need to pick the right beans, blend them in the right proportion, roast them to perfection, and slow brew at the right temperature to get the perfect cup. Which is exactly like great conversations as well. You need to track down the most interesting minds, get them into their zone, and settle down for an unhurried, unscripted chat. And coffee for me is always, always, always best enjoyed with friends. I'm Karthik Nagarajan, and do share my table as I meet some of the most interesting people I know and sit them down for a strong cup of coffee and an even stronger conversation. Join me every Wednesday for a freshly brewed episode. This is not frappe. This is the Filter Coffee Podcast.